In times of crisis, many people believe that wealth disappears, that money disappears, and that there is no way out. But in reality, it is during these periods that a true abundance mindset needs to flourish. Jacob's story shows us something powerful. Wealth depends not only on what's happening around us, but on how we think, how we act, and how we position ourselves in the face of circumstances. Jacob didn't become rich in easy times. He prospered precisely in times of difficulty, when everything seemed limited, when scarcity was a visible reality. And that's precisely where the key to your prosperity lies, because the crisis doesn't define your future. It merely reveals your mindset. When we observe Jacob's journey, we see that he faced betrayal, uncertainty, external pressure, and even fear. He left his parents' home with nothing in hand, only a promise. And yet in the midst of the process, he discovered something that transformed his life. Wealth is not just the accumulation of possessions, but the ability to think differently in environments of limitation. When everyone saw only lack, he saw possibility. When it seemed others had more power, he discovered that his strength lay in his own mindset. This is the same principle you need to apply today. Have you ever noticed that there are people who, even in the midst of crises, continue to grow, achieve, and advance? It might seem unfair, but it's not. The difference lies in how each person approaches situations. While some allow themselves to be overcome by fear, others use it as fuel to seek alternatives. While many complain, others move silently, forging new paths. And this is the same invitation life is extending to you now, to change your mindset so that the crisis is not a burden, but an opportunity. Before we delve deeper into the teachings, I want you to do something simple. If you truly want to attract wealth into your life, if you want to train your mind to see abundance even when there seems to be no way out, then before continuing, make sure you've already hit the like button. But only do this if you truly desire to prosper. And I want you to write in the comments right now, I am ready to prosper. This simple statement will mark the beginning of your journey of transformation. Returning to Jacob's story, there's an important detail. He didn't just work hard, he worked with a strategic mind. While many expected different results by doing the same things, Jacob learned to observe, to see patterns, to discover opportunities where no one else did. This is something you need to incorporate into your life, learning to look at reality differently. A crisis can close doors, but it can also open others, invisible to those blinded by scarcity. Those who think small only see problems. Those who think big discover hidden solutions. What Jacob discovered about wealth is that it's not found in what you receive from others, but in how you create your own reality. The blessing he carried was within him, not outside. This means that if you believe your life will only change when someone gives you something, you'll remain trapped in scarcity. But when you understand that change begins within your mind, you open the channel for everything around you to change as well. It's as if wealth is waiting for your permission to manifest. Now think with me. How many times have you let a crisis dominate your vision? How many times have you believed there was no way out because you only saw the lack? What if you had chosen to look for the possibility hidden behind the difficulty? The difference between continuing in the same life and building a life of prosperity lies precisely in this detail. Jacob could have given up. He could have surrendered, but he didn't. He chose to trust, to choose to look beyond what was visible. And that's the same choice you need to make today. When you understand that wealth is a mindset, you begin to free yourself from comparison. The crisis may be affecting everyone, but it doesn't have to dominate you. Different people face the same scenario, but each reacts differently. While one gives in to despair, another decides to use the difficulty as a springboard. While one speaks of lack, another affirms abundance. You need to decide which side you'll be on. And it all starts with the words you repeat daily, the thoughts you cultivate within yourself. Stop for a moment and repeat out loud, "Crisis will not define me. I was born to thrive." This simple affirmation, repeated over and over, begins to reprogram your mind. It's not magic, it's training. Just as Jacob needed to train his way of seeing, you need to train yours too. Every time you affirm, every time you declare, you are shaping the way your mind perceives reality. Abundance begins within you before manifesting outside. And if you doubt this, think about all the people who have bounced back in difficult times. They didn't wait for the crisis to end before taking action. They decided to thrive even amidst limitations. And this was only possible because their mindset was prepared. It's this preparation that you need to build, starting today. Crises will always exist, But the question is, will you be a victim of them or will you use them as fuel for growth? When we talk about wealth, many people automatically think of money, possessions, and material goods. But the truth is that wealth begins long before that. It's born within the mind. Everything that manifests in the external world was first built within someone. When Jacob began his journey, he had no possessions, no cattle, no gold, no property. But he carried something that no one could take away, the promise of prosperity, and above all the faith that what did not yet exist could become reality. This is the essence of wealth, believing and seeing beyond what is visible. In times of crisis, the greatest challenge is not a lack of resources, but the limitations of the mind. People look around, see scarcity, and immediately conclude there's nothing they can do. But others, faced with the same situation, can imagine new possibilities, create different paths, and perceive hidden opportunities. It's as if there were an invisible lens separating those who prosper from those who become impoverished. Jacob learned to use this lens. He wasn't fooled by the appearance of the moment. He knew wealth was under construction, even when there were no signs of it in the present. This is a key point for you. Don't confuse your current situation with your destiny. What you're experiencing today may seem limited, difficult, and even hopeless, but that doesn't mean it will be this way forever. What will determine transformation is not the crisis itself, but how you position yourself in the face of it. Those who choose to see only the problem multiply the problem. Those who choose to see the hidden opportunity pave the way for abundance. Wealth is never completely absent. It simply shifts in times of crisis. Imagine Jacob working for years for his father-in-law Laban. He seemed trapped, limited, wronged, but within him a conviction grew. A blessing was upon his life, and sooner or later it would manifest. At a certain point, he realized something that changed everything. He understood that he could use what he had at hand creatively, that he could multiply what seemed small. That was the turning point. He stopped thinking like a slave to circumstances and began thinking like someone destined for abundance. And when his mind changed, everything around him began to change too. Think about it now. How many times have you acted as if you were a hostage to your circumstances? How many times have you believed you had no choice, that the crisis was stronger than you? The truth is, you are not a hostage. You have within you a power that can create paths where no one sees anything. But this power only awakens when you decide to believe in it. There's no point waiting for someone to come and rescue you. The rescue is already within you, hidden in your way of thinking. The mindset of wealth is trained, not born ready. Jacob had to learn this step by step. He observed, analyzed, and studied the situations around him until he realized how to transform what seemed ordinary into something extraordinary. This same ability is within you. Perhaps today you look at your life and only see difficulties. But if you change the way you look, you'll begin to see hidden resources. What you have now may seem small, but it can be multiplied when you activate the mindset of abundance. Here's an exercise I want you to do right now. Look around you, think about your current life, and choose one thing you previously considered small or insignificant. Now, affirm out loud, this can be multiplied. I choose to see abundance. By repeating this phrase, you begin to reprogram your mind. It's a practice, and the more you practice, the more natural it will become. The crisis, in fact, functions as a test. It separates those who surrender to fear from those who use fear as an impulse. The difference lies not in the scenario, but in each person's inner self. Jacob could have given up, but he chose to persist. He could have settled for little, but he decided to believe in much. This choice made all the difference. You need to make this choice too. Don't wait for the crisis to end. Decide to thrive now, even in the midst of hardship. Repeat after me. I am greater than the crisis. Abundance is within me. The more you declare this, the more your mind will open to see opportunities that were previously hidden. This is the secret Jacob discovered. Wealth doesn't come from the outside in, but from the inside out. The blessing isn't in the crisis or outside of it, but in how you choose to think and act in the face of it. One of the greatest lessons Jacob's life teaches us is the clarity that wealth doesn't depend on external circumstances, but on internal attitude. He lived for years in conditions of apparent injustice, serving Laban, who constantly tried to reduce his rewards. If he had been trapped in a scarcity mentality, he would have rebelled, given up, or simply accepted living with little. But Jacob didn't dwell on what he could see. He maintained within himself the conviction that the blessing was active, and therefore there was always a way out. It's precisely this conviction you need to cultivate in times of crisis. Note something important. The crisis is collective, but the mindset is individual. When there's turmoil in the world, everyone is affected in some way, but not everyone reacts the same way. Some sink into complaints and paralyze their own lives. Others, faced with the same situation, decide to maintain a vision of growth and begin to see what others fail to perceive. It's as if they're looking at the same scenario, but through different lenses. Jacob used lenses of abundance. You need to learn to use them too. The human mind is capable of magnifying or limiting any situation. When you believe there's no way out, your brain begins to seek only proof of that. It's like an invisible filter that reinforces scarcity. But when you decide to believe there is a way, your mind begins to work to find that path. This isn't magic, it's logic. The brain is like a radar that responds to what you choose to believe. Jacob chose to believe that blessings were with him, and because of this, he was able to identify opportunities that would go unnoticed by others. Now do a simple exercise. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine what your life would be like if you truly believed that abundance is always available to you, even in times of crisis. Imagine waking up every day with the certainty that there is a way out, that there are open doors waiting for you to perceive. Feel this security within yourself. Repeat out loud, "I am guided to see hidden opportunities." This phrase, repeated constantly, helps shape your mind toward abundance. Jacob didn't prosper suddenly, he prospered through a process. And this is another important secret. Wealth isn't the result of a single event, but the sum of consistent choices, thoughts, and attitudes over time. In times of crisis, many people wait for a quick fix, an immediate miracle, but true prosperity is built. It's like planting seeds. You put them in the soil, water them, protect them, wait, and over time, you harvest. A crisis may delay growth, but it can't prevent the harvest for those who keep planting. How many times have you given up because you didn't see immediate results? How many times have you stopped trying because you believed it was pointless? This is where you need to change. Wealth doesn't come from a single action, but from consistency. Jacob worked, observed, was patient and strategic. While others might have sought shortcuts, he built a solid foundation. This means that even in a crisis, you need to continue affirming, focusing, believing, and acting on this vision. Another detail worth noting is that Jacob didn't limit himself to what Laban had given him. He understood he could use his creativity to multiply. This point is crucial. Don't wait for the crisis to end to be creative. It is precisely during a crisis that your creativity may be most needed. Think about how many ideas and solutions have emerged during difficult times for humanity. When everyone is focused on scarcity, those with vision can transform small opportunities into great results. The question you need to ask yourself is, are you training your mind to see beyond? Because the crisis won't disappear just because you wish it would, but it can lose its power over you when your mind learns to see abundance, where before it saw only limitation. It's like flipping an internal switch. When that switch is flipped, you begin to see possibilities that were always there, but invisible to a mind accustomed to scarcity. Repeat out loud now. I choose to think like Jacob. I see abundance in times of crisis. This statement is more than a phrase. It's a decision. It's the choice not to be imprisoned by collective fear, but to create your own reality. This is precisely what differentiates those who become rich in times of crisis from those who become even poorer. The secret isn't in the world, it's within each of us. When we observe Jacob's journey, we realize that he spent long years living in an environment that, at first glance, seemed disadvantageous. He was on land that wasn't his, under the orders of a father-in-law who constantly changed the arrangements to reduce his earnings. For anyone with a scarcity mindset, this would be reason to give up, complain, or accept living with little. But Jacob teaches us something powerful. Even in unfavorable environments, it is possible to thrive if the mind is connected to abundance. The thing is, Jacob didn't get stuck in the victim role. He could have repeated phrases like, "I have no choice," "My father-in-law is cheating me," "I'll never prosper here." But instead he decided to trust that the blessing was within him, not in his circumstances. This decision is what separates those who become wealthy from those who remain trapped. The crisis may try to push you into the victim role, but the choice is yours. You can surrender, or you can decide, like Jacob, to use your creativity, vision, and perseverance to transform the situation. And here's a key point. The wealth built in times of crisis is much more solid than the wealth that emerges in times of ease. This happens because when you learn to thrive amidst hardship, you create within yourself skills and insights that no one can take away. It's as if the crisis is a training ground. It shapes your mindset, strengthens your discipline, and broadens your vision. Jacob emerged from that period not only with material wealth, but with a consciousness of abundance that would stay with him throughout his life. Now reflect on your own life. How many times have you looked at a difficult situation and thought it was impossible to find a way out? How many times have you believed everything was against you? If you continue to look with eyes of scarcity, you will only see walls. But if you change your mindset, you will begin to see doors. Jacob learned to see doors where others saw walls. He didn't ignore the crisis, but chose to look beyond it. And that's what you need to do. I want you to make a declaration right now. Say it out loud, firmly. I am not a victim of circumstances. I am the creator of my prosperity. Repeat this phrase until you feel a shift in energy within yourself, because every word you declare reinforces a pattern in your mind. If you spend the day repeating that it's difficult, your brain reinforces the difficulty. But if you start affirming abundance, your mind begins looking for ways to confirm it. Jacob's secret was understanding that blessing manifested itself through what he believed and did. He observed, thought, and sought solutions. He didn't sit around waiting for something to happen, but he also didn't allow the difficulties to destroy his vision of the future. This balance is crucial. You don't need to deny the reality of the crisis, but you also can't let it be the only truth. There's always something greater. There's always a way out. There's always a hidden possibility. Think about how many times you've underestimated the power of a simple idea. Often, the scarcity mindset expects something grand, an immediate event that changes everything. But prosperity almost always starts small. Jacob used what he had at hand. He observed the flock, noticed patterns, applied simple but consistent strategies, and in doing so multiplied his wealth. What seemed little became much because he didn't despise the small beginning. A crisis tends to make you despise what you have. But the secret is just the opposite, to value what's in your hands, because that's how multiplication happens. Ask yourself, what do I already have today that can be multiplied? Maybe it's an idea, a skill, a contact, a small resource. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you see value in it and decide to take the next step. Abundance begins when you learn to honor even what seems small. To cement this idea, I want you to write in the comments now, I choose to value what I have and multiply it. This simple act of declaring it in words reinforces within you the same principle that transformed Jacob's life, because wealth is not born from what you lack, but from what you already have and choose to multiply. One of Jacob's greatest discoveries was that prosperity doesn't come from the outside in, but from the inside out. He learned that blessing wasn't limited to where he lived or the conditions around him. Even though he was deceived repeatedly, even though he was placed in disadvantageous situations, he continued to find ways to prosper. And why? Because his mind wasn't conditioned by scarcity. He knew that within him existed something greater than any external crisis. It's very common for people in difficult times to think they need to wait for conditions to change before they can prosper. They believe that when the economy improves, when someone helps them, when an opportunity falls from the sky, then life will change. But this is a scarcity trap. The reality is that life only changes when you change from within. Jacob didn't wait for Laban to be fair to him. He didn't wait for circumstances to become favorable. He began using his mindset to create different outcomes within the same situation. This teaches us a powerful principle. Those with a mind trained for abundance don't need to wait for perfect conditions. Prosperity manifests because one learns to look at what already exists and transform it. The external world responds to the internal world. If within you there are only thoughts of fear, insecurity, and lack, the crisis will seem unbearable. But if within you there is confidence, vision, and expectation of abundance, the crisis becomes just a passing scenario. Now think about this. How many times have you conditioned your prosperity on the future? How many times have you said to yourself, when I have more money, I'll think about prosperity, or when everything gets better, I'll feel confident. This mindset keeps you stuck. The secret is to reverse it. First you feel prosperous, first you train your mind for wealth, and then the results begin to appear. Jacob behaved like someone blessed, even before he had any outward signs. Therefore, sooner or later, his reality had to align with what was inside him. I want you to do an exercise right now. take a deep breath and declare out loud, "I am already prosperous. Wealth is within me." Repeat this phrase with conviction, even if the circumstances around you seem contrary. Because every time you declare this, you are feeding the same mindset that sustained Jacob in his years of hardship. It's not a matter of denying reality. It's a matter of choosing which reality will hold the most power within you. Another key detail in Jacob's story is that he learned to observe. He didn't act automatically. He paid attention, analyzed, and used what he saw to strategize. This shows that prosperity isn't just about believing, but also being attentive. A mind trained for abundance perceives signs that others ignore. The same flock that seemed ordinary to Laban became an extraordinary opportunity for Jacob because he looked at it differently. This means that, even in times of crisis, you need to be alert to hidden opportunities. How many times has something passed before you, and you missed it because your mind was too preoccupied with worry? How many times has an idea, a conversation, or a detail that could have been a turning point but went unnoticed? A mind of abundance doesn't close itself off to details. On the contrary, it broadens its vision. Jacob shows us that wealth doesn't come solely from work, but from how one views work. If you want to thrive in times of crisis, you need to train your perception. You need to stop looking at life only through the eyes of limitation. You need to start asking yourself, where is the opportunity here? What haven't I seen yet? What can I learn in this moment? This kind of questioning opens up previously hidden pathways. Crisis doesn't block all access. It merely disguises it so that only those who are attentive can perceive it. To cement this idea, I want you to write in the comments below, "I choose to see opportunities where others only see problems." This simple action already begins to train your mind. The more you repeat and practice this, the more your perception will be shaped toward abundance. Jacob's life reveals a profound truth. The crisis was never the problem. The real problem has always been how people react to it. While some despair and become paralyzed, others find in crisis an opportunity to create something new. This is precisely what differentiates those who thrive when everything seems to be falling apart and those who fall behind. Jacob became a living example that thriving doesn't depend on external circumstances, but on how the mind is trained. He could have accepted the condition of being exploited by Laban and resigned himself to living off scraps. But within him lay a conviction. The promise of prosperity was active. This promise was not a distant theory, but a reality that needed to be manifested through his faith, his vision, and his action. The same is true in your life. There is wealth already planted within you, waiting only for your mindset to align with it so that it can begin to manifest in the outside world. It's very common to hear people say that the crisis destroyed their dreams, but the truth is that the crisis only revealed the fragility of their existing mindset. A crisis has no power to destroy those whose minds are strengthened by abundance. On the contrary, it becomes the terrain where faith, creativity, and resilience are tested and expanded. This was the case with Jacob. He had no control over Laban's behavior, but he had complete control over how he chose to react. This was the key to his prosperity. Now, bring this into your reality. Perhaps you're facing a difficult situation, with bills piling up, uncertainty at work, or worries about the future. It's in these moments that you need to decide how to react. Will you give in to a scarcity mindset, repeating words of defeat, or will you position yourself as someone who carries within themselves the promise of abundance? The decision is always yours. I want you to do a strengthening exercise right now. Repeat out loud with conviction, "I don't depend on the crisis. I depend on my abundance mindset." Feel the weight of this phrase as you say it, because it's the truth. What truly sustains your life is not the external scenario, but how you choose to think and act in the face of it. A fascinating detail of Jacob's journey is that he used something many would overlook: observation of the flock. He noticed patterns, analyzed behaviors, and from there developed a strategy that multiplied his wealth. What seemed simple to others became gold in his hands. This shows us that often the difference between scarcity and prosperity lies in attention to detail. Those with a scarcity mindset only see the lack. Those with an abundance mindset can transform even the simple into multiplication. This means that in times of crisis, you don't need to wait for something extraordinary to happen to thrive. You need to learn to appreciate the ordinary, what's before you every day, but goes unnoticed because your mind is occupied with worries. Ask yourself, What is already within my reach that I'm not yet taking advantage of? What already exists around me that could be multiplied if I looked at it with new eyes? These questions open your perception and begin to unlock hidden paths. Jacob discovered that wealth wasn't just about working harder, but about working wisely, with vision, and with an abundance mindset. This is a great secret. Prosperity isn't just the result of physical effort, but of mental clarity. A scarcity mindset can work hard all their life and still live in limitation. But an abundance mindset can find opportunities to grow, even when everyone says it's impossible. Now, I want you to write in the comments, "I choose to see abundance in the simple." This phrase will reinforce within you the ability to see value even in what seems small. Because when you learn to value the small, you make room for the big to manifest. The greatest secret revealed is simple. Wealth isn't born in times of ease, but is strengthened in times of crisis. When everything seems limited, it's the mindset of abundance that becomes the key to unlocking growth. Jacob showed us that prosperity is not the result of luck or external favors, but of the choice to think and act differently. He was in unfair conditions, but he didn't dwell on them. He was able to see in the small flock an opportunity for multiplication. He refused to live as a victim and decided to position himself as the creator of his own prosperity. This is the same choice that lies before you today. The crisis you face is not the end, but a calling. It can be the perfect setting for you to awaken your dormant potential, activate your creativity, and train your mind to see beyond the visible. A crisis is a training ground, and those who overcome it carry within themselves skills and insights that no one can steal. Wealth born of scarcity is solid because it was built on overcoming. The great lesson is that prosperity doesn't begin when you have a lot, but when you learn to value and multiply what you have. Don't wait for perfect conditions, because they will never come. Decide now, right now, that you are already prosperous. Repeat this every day. Affirm it out loud. Write it down. Declare it. Because constant repetition will reprogram your mind. And when your mind changes, everything around you will begin to change too. I want you to make a powerful declaration now, for the last time in this audiobook. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and say, "I choose abundance. I am not a hostage to the crisis. I am the creator of my prosperity. Wealth is already within me and it manifests itself every day." Feel these words as a living truth within you, because, like Jacob, you are not limited by what your eyes see. There is a future of abundance waiting for your decision to believe. And to confirm this commitment, write in the comments, "I am bigger than the crisis, and I am ready to thrive." This will be the final seed planted today, which will grow in your mind and blossom into your reality. The journey doesn't end here. What you've heard is just the beginning. Now it's your turn to apply, to practice, to repeat, and to transform. Like Jacob, you too may discover that the blessing was already with you all along, just waiting for your mindset to open to it. The crisis is temporary, but the wealth you build within yourself is eternal. Now, if you want to hear more content about wisdom continuously, subscribe to the channel and click on the playlist I left here on the screen. I have selected the best audiobooks for you to listen to. I see you.